Today we are making this really pretty personalised magnetic bookmark which you can open and you can use as a reading journal or a notepad. Really easy to make, and I'm going to show you how I did it. Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. We are going to make this bookmark. One of my goals for 2024 is to read more, and I'm going to try and finish a book every month. I had it in mind that I wanted to make something like a bookmark, which was also kind of like a reading journal, in the hopes that it would keep me on track a little bit. I have found these papers which are perfect bookmark size. They've been pre-cut. They came in a paper pack. And they've given me inspiration for this. These measure 5.5 by 2.5. For the base of the bookmark, I've used this craft cardboard. It's not overly thick, but it's, it's thick enough to give some support. This is an A4 size piece of card. So the length is 12.5, and we'll size it at 2.5 so that this fits perfectly on to there like that. Of course, you don't need to use these exact measurements. I'm doing these measurements because that's what's already cut. So you can cut your paper to the same size as mine, or you can just, use paper of any size that you have. And the first thing I'm going to do is cut the width at 2.5. We need to do a little bit of scoring because we have a flap over here and a flap over here. This is where the magnets are going to go. I scored 1 inch from each end. Then I folded those over, making sure that as I fold, the size meet up. Give them a really good squish. So we're going to fold them in. Once I've done that, I then can get those equal. I'm going to make a mark there where the fold is, and then I can just score that to help me fold. I did see Maggie from Sunset Crafts do something similar. I think she was making notepads. So this is kind of inspired by her. Mainly this bit where we're doing this magnet flap. That's how she did hers. But I think she did, I'm not sure what she did actually. Maybe notebooks. Like scrappy notebooks. So thank you, Maggie, for the inspiration for some of this. It's just one way that you can put a magnet in. There's loads of videos out there, loads of different ways to do it. Now, I am kind of working on the fly here because, although it was only yesterday when I did this, I can't remember what I did. Well, I can, but I can't remember the order. I think next I inked all of the inside and I used ground espresso. I left the bit in the middle a bit lighter to give it some variation. I used ground espresso oxide and popped it onto there and went mad. Heavier at the edges, and then I just brought it in a little bit. You also want to do these flaps here because they're going to be folded over, and I cut a tiny bit off each corner. On this one, I just did the small one, which I think looks better. I've accidentally used the middle size one, so that's what we're going with for this. You could round them as well, or you could just get a pair of scissors and just do like a curved cut. And then I'm going to fold these tags in. And ink these. Obviously, this can be adapted, so the whole look of these can be adapted depending on the ink colours you use, the papers you use. You could make them more grungy, less grungy. You could do a springtime one, Easter one. Possibilities are endless. I've just realised I've made a mistake. Well, it's not really a mistake. It doesn't matter. I've made this at 2.5 inches. This one is 2.25, not 2.5. So I can still use this one if I want, because that will just leave a border like that. So that's okay. I'm just going to leave it as it is. Makes no difference really, it will still work in exactly the same way. So once we've done this inking, we can add some detail. I did some stenciling with this stencil here. It's Elizabeth Craft Designs and it's called Storytelling S032. And I went in with the Distress Oxide in the old paper for this one. I also used my Stampers Anonymous script stamp, one of my favourites, and a little wooden stamp that I have, which looks like this. For the script stamp, I used the ground espresso, but in the Distress ink this time, instead of the oxide. And for this stamp, I used the Distress ink in Black Soot. For the stenciling, I just used one of these blending brushes and I kind of just very haphazardly started stenciling. So just like that, to give an impression of something. You can't tell it's words, you can't kind of tell what's on there, but it just gives that interest. So literally, I popped this on, got some ink, and just randomly stenciled. You can add a little bit more on if you want to. Fill in those gaps. There's this word patiently. I did it on this one. I've used it up here. And I think down here I'm going to do the same. I just think it looks nice. There we go. You can just see it there. I next did this. And again, I just very randomly did some stamping. Hanging off the page, some second and third generation stamping. Literally to add some interest. And then I went in with this script stamp. And again, very haphazardly, just stamped some text. Once all my stamping was done, I then stuck my front cover down. The reason I did it first was just so that I could get a completely flat surface before I put the magnets in. Now this one is going to look a little bit different because, as I said, I did cut it a little bit wider, but that just means it will just have a bit of a border, and that's fine. I can just chop a bit off. So I can either do the same, or I can do a lighter colour. I could do a black and white one. Let's do this peachy one here, I think. Because I have a gap either side, I'm going to leave about the same distance along the top and about the same distance along the bottom. Just going to cut that off. And because we have a border, I'm going to ink around the image. I didn't need to do that on the other one. And I'm also going to use the same Distress Oxide in the ground espresso to ink all of this and all of this in the same way as I did on the inside. I haven't got any extra ink on here. I'm just doing it with whatever's already on the blender. Just bringing it in slightly. And because this is going to be a bookmark, I'm going to now heat set the ink just to prevent any smudging. And then I'm going to get my image and stick it onto the front like that. So leave that border around the side, around the outside. Once we're all sorted here, we can then put our magnets in. There's a couple of things that I found helpful to use with these magnets. One is just some tacky glue to help put the magnet in place. Then some sellotape to keep the magnet in place. And then some kind of stronger silicone type glue to then stick these flaps down over this sellotape so that they'll hold nice and strong. It's obviously up to you what you use depending on what you have. These things I've just found work for me. These are the magnets that I'm using. They're from Amazon, so I'm guessing this is the company. My Creative Spirit. Now, these magnets drive me mad. They are extremely strong. They will stick to everything. They also will attract that aggressively that they can break. And it does actually give you a warning here. Where is it? If magnets leap together, they can crack, causing sharp flying fragments. It's happened to me a few times by accident, which is one of the reasons why I use sellotape and then put a layer of card over each magnet to avoid that happening. These are so strong that I can't even get them apart. I found the best thing to do is to kind of just slide this top one off and it does come off eventually. And the bit that's attracting is this bit. That was the bit that was down. I'm going to pop some glue on here and put it down this way. So to begin with, I'm just going to put a blob of glue here and put that there. Just going to let it sit for a couple of seconds so it doesn't slip and slide. I'm going to get some sellotape. And I'm going to pop this over the top. Then I'm going to get a bone folder. See, we're stuck. I'm going to really press the sellotape down over this magnet, right round the edges of it. Now, the trick I do is this. I kind of hold the stack and I can tell that this is repelling. This is the side I need. So I'm going to put it down with this side up. I'm going to put my two edges together like this, and with my pencil, I'm going to put a dot kind of in the centre of this magnet where it would be on here. About there. Then what you can do is just double check the side it needs to go on. Yeah. You can then stick that down and put your sellotape on, as you know, as you would do. Or you can put it onto here, put glue onto there, push it onto here. That gives you your glue mark. So we did get it kind of in the right place. And then pop your magnet down. Sellotape. Before I push this down too much, I'm going to check they attract. I'm going to fold these and check that they stick together, and they do. So we're fine. We can get all that stuck down now. So now our magnets are on both ends. It's just a case of popping some glue down and closing them up. I'm just going to smooth this out a little bit, and then press that down. Couple of clips on each side. Same on this side. Then I give this edge here a really good push down. Because it's going over a magnet, it's kind of done that, which encourages this end to flip up. So just make sure that's all nicely glued as well. The paper inside, you can use whatever you want, whatever you have to hand. I've got this pre-punched, I'm guessing it's some kind of like insert paper for a journal or a planner. I use that because I liked the detail on the edge, and also I thought the holes acted a little bit like a bullet point. So it gives me kind of like 4 sections. There's no way on earth I'm going to manage 4 books a month. It's just, that's not going to happen. But even still, you know, I just kind of liked it for decorative purposes. I only use 6 pieces of paper so that I can work back to back. So January, February, March, etc. And I did just, this isn't necessary, but I just put a little clip on there to keep them together. So all I did to measure was pop it on. And this one I've kept quite short from the bottom. You could go a little bit long if you wanted, but I didn't want to interfere with the magnet. So I think I'm going to cut just under this hole here. I'm going to do it all together, and hopefully you can see the bottom of this. If you use a trimmer like this, you can use the edge here to make sure you've kind of got them all together properly. And then we're cutting just under this line. Be keeping that for collaging and, you know, anything else it could come in useful for. And for the width, popping it on. I do like to have a little bit of an edge, mainly because I can never seem to staple it on straight. So it gives me a bit of leeway. Popping that on and making a mark about there. And cutting that down. They'll go on there like that. A little bit longer than the other ones, but that's fine. As long as I can still close it, that's fine. I then scored along the top of each one so that it would fold. They would fold up easily like this. I kept them all together again, and I did 3/8 of an inch. Folded these over. And then I just pop them back together again like this. So making sure the folded edge is at the top. So there's multiple ways now that you can attach them. You can sew straight across. You can glue each piece and then stick them down individually like this. I wanted to be able to, or have the chance to, remove mine. So I decided to staple. I'm going to borrow this paper clip here. So just to help me keep them aligned. And then I brought out the machine, the long-armed stapler. Now, as you can see, I'm not the best at stapling in straight, never have been. Whoops. So I am actually going to draw a line where I want the staples to go. I'll take that off for a moment. On this top one. You can always rub that out later. Put it back in. Paper clip it on. And there's our reading journal, or whatever it is we want to use it for. As you can see on this one, I did stamp some lines just to separate the sections out. I'm going to rub out some pencil. Now we can turn over and we can just cover the back. If you want to, you might not want to. I covered mine with a page from Shakespeare. I thought it was quite fitting since I wanted to use it as like a reading journal. Love Labour's Lost. And I just pulled a page from here. I like this because someone's annotated it. And I just think it adds some, I just think it's interesting to be using something that's already been loved and used and thought about. And to trim this, I got rid of all the white first, and then I just measured the width. Now, because I've got a border on this one, I'm going to leave the same size border on this one, just so it kind of looks the same. It's not necessary, but that's just what I'm going to do. So I'm going to cut off about there where it says hold, and I'm going to come in to about there. I always like to use a label or some washi tape or something to cover the staples, only because, well, mainly because this paper is very thin and I don't want the staples to push through. I'm using a label because this is a matte surface, so it won't resist the glue. And again, I'm going to give that a good push down. I'm going right to the staples here to make sure that where we've got that bump, it's going to be stuck. And again, I'm going to ink around the actual book page. I didn't on this because it was the correct width. I'm also going to heat set this, then just glue it down. So we're all done for the base and covering the back and the front. So now we can just decorate. So I've decided to decorate it something like this, very similar to this one. I have half of a label. This one is a full label that I've wrapped around. I didn't feel it looked right on here with having the border. I've just chopped that at the end. I have a D for Donna, and these are vinyl letters and numbers, which I got for £1 from, if you are in the UK, it's Home Bargains, which is, I suppose, in the US, I'm thinking of something it's like if you've got like a budget shop where you can get things slightly cheaper. It's from there. They were really, really cheap. It's the type of things you put them onto your bins with your house number. You know, you can make posters out of them. And it's one of those, but to elevate this one, I put glossy accents on it. So I'm going to do the same thing. And then I've got this little flower. It's in the same paper is that, which I think I'm just going to put there because I didn't have anything that kind of went round. I felt like it kind of needed to come this way and I didn't have anything. I didn't want to cover this up or this. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Taking this off, sticking this down. I'm going to put a bit of liquid glue onto here, just to help it stick. Now, something I didn't do on here, but I think I'm going to try it on here, is I think I'm going to put a tab here to help pull it up and down, because I'm worried that over time this is going to get worn out. Just having a look here in my scrap bag. That might be quite a nice colour to use. I'm going to go with this because it's quite thin. I don't want anything bulky because it's going to go in my book. And it doesn't need to be massive. It's just to help me lift it. So it only really needs to come around like this. Just need the tiniest amount there. So if I cut and another thing I need to think about is where my magnet is, which is about there. So I should be okay like that. So I can either go for this like bronzy colour, which would match the flowers and this little butterfly, or I could go for my favourite colour, which is this one, which is what I think I will do. Yeah, that's what I was looking for, just something to help me lift it. So I'm going to give you the final look now because I'm not going to be able to open it once I put the glossy accents on, and also I'm not going to be able to do anything with the flower until the glossy accents is dry. But here is the front cover. So they pretty much look, so you can see the trouble I'm having trying to get this open. They're pretty much the same. This is going to be for my reading. This, I'm not sure. It's just a spare one. I haven't finished, obviously, in here yet. It's going to be an ongoing thing. I think these would make really nice birthday presents or gift, particularly if you're buying a book for somebody or you've got somebody who likes to have a little notepad in their bag. Maybe it's like a little shopping notepad, make shopping lists on. So we will just add our glossy accents. I do like to apply mine quite thick because I like it to have that 3D effect. And I will just leave that now to completely dry on its own. So I will say goodbye. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope this has given you a little bit of inspiration. Which one do you prefer, border or no border? I prefer the slimmer one with no border because I think it looks more of a bookmark size. This to me reminds me more of a notebook size. And although I did kind of make a mistake with my measuring, I suppose now I've got like a bookmark, a reading journal, and a little notepad, and nothing's gone to waste. Thank you very much for joining me today. Take really good care of yourselves and I'll see you soon. Bye.